Okay,
Whoa, hello.
this is Craig. Craig is a robot. He listens to your conversation and then sends you the recording.
Awesome.
Terrifies the crap out of my friends every time. Every single time. You'd think they'd be used to it by now, but that's what happens.
So you've used it before?
Yeah, we use it as a backup recording for our podcast about Bionicle. You'd think that we'd all be used to it by now, what with the Optimus Prime voice and such, but we only record every 2 weeks. So the only one of us that's used to it by now is me, who has no perception of time.
And you can edit the footage afterwards, right?
I'm pretty sure it sends me a file to download.
Okay.
I think. I've never used this before. I've never used it.
Okay.
Hence why I need to look up how to use it. But also,
Yeah.
I would have needed to look up how to use it anyway because I forget things. Anyway, Time Cats Reunion Special!
No, just the E3 edition.
Yep. I don't have the intellectual capacity to record my own podcast regularly, so that's why we haven't recorded in, what's it been, 100 years? I don't remember.
Yeah. Also, back in the day, I started having massive panic attacks, so I had to stop doing podcasts for a while because I just started having panic attacks every time I talked to people and started breaking down and crying.
Yeah, podcasts are hard. Podcasts are hard. Every time I record with my friends, I'm worried that when we're done, oh wow, you're echoing a lot. Craig, you hearing this? Craig doesn't talk.
Do I need to turn the sound down on my thing?
A little, yeah.
Oh dear, now I can't hear you.
You need headphones.
Huh?
You need headphones.
Yeah, probably. Let me.
If we can commit to actually doing the podcast regularly, I can buy you headphones.
Huh?
If we ever commit to doing a podcast regularly, I can buy you headphones.
Okay. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about the E3 Nintendo Direct. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the Breath of the Wild 2 reveal because I mean, to put out here, this is going to be hardcore spoilers for Breath of the Wild. And this is going to be going over theory, and there's probably going to be a lot of spoilers here. But anyway, so
the game's been out for years, and it's super popular, so everyone who cares has played it already.
Well, I want to put a spoiler out there anyway, in case they haven't. I know.
Now, you talk about Breath of the Wild because I'm the only one on the planet who hasn't played it.
No, there are plenty of people who still haven't played it. So anyway, this is going to have massive Breath of the Wild spoilers because we're going to be talking about the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer in the E3. So yeah. This is going to be a lot of theory, but it's also going to be talking a lot about Breath of the Wild, and it's going to spoil the very end of the game. And so, yeah.
Link dies at the end, right?
No, but Breath of the Wild takes place, I want to say, 10,000 years after some explosive battle with Ganondorf that involved Sheikah technology, and they basically managed to seal away Ganondorf under Hyrule Castle. And so, and they predicted that he'd arise once again. And so, in Breath of the Wild, he did as the Calamity Ganon. Basically, Calamity Ganon is just this pool of malice. I probably should have said, we're also going to have Skyward Sword spoilers here as well, so good warning if you haven't played and finished Skyward Sword, we're going to have Skyward Sword spoilers as well. Sorry.
Skyward Sword was the one that people disliked, right?
Well, I certainly have contentious opinions about it, but yeah. So anyway, for those who don't know,
So what I'm basically saying is, anyone who hasn't played it yet doesn't want to, so they probably won't.
Sure, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. There's younger people, and there are people who just haven't had a Nintendo for a while. I don't know.
Right. Nobody bought the Wii U.
Well,
right.
it was actually for the Wii, but I mean, you know, people could be poor. People could be playing up to like GameCube, and then suddenly became adults, and suddenly were stuck out on their own, and didn't have the money that their parents had. So I mean, there are all kinds of reasons.
Everyone in the world had a Wii though. It was like
that's the funny thing. I love Nintendo. I've had every Nintendo console, but I completely skipped the Wii just because Oh, that's a contentious thing. But basically, there were money issues, and I was never able to get the Wii.
Money is hard.
Yeah, yeah. So I played the Wii games on the Wii U because it had backwards compatibility. So I played stuff like Skyward Sword and the like on the Wii U, which was all right.
I'm so surprised that Nintendo is the only company that consistently does backwards compatibility.
Well, I mean, not consistently.
At least.
The only system that was backwards compatible was the Wii U. I mean, I'm trying to think of, and the Game Boy Advance was
The Wii was
compatible with the
compatible with
previous
GameCube.
Game Boy games, and the Wii U was backwards compatible with the Wii. But other than that, the consoles didn't have backwards compatibility.
Well, the Wii and the GameCube, the
Was the Wii able to play GameCube games?
Yep. Later models weren't. I think the only, but I think the only one that couldn't was this Canadian exclusive budget version.
Oh.
Let's see. The Game Boy Advance could play Game Boy games, Game Boy Color games. The Game Boy Advance, the Nintendo DS could play Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance games.
Oh yeah, the 3DS. Yeah, that's right. And the 3DS could play DS. Right, so there has been more backwards compatibility for the handhelds than the consoles, but yeah. I wouldn't call that consistent.
I would say the earlier versions of the PlayStation 3 probably had the best backwards compatibility. Apparently, all versions of the PlayStation 3 could play PS1 games, but they took out PS2. I don't know how. I assume that the PlayStation 3 that I had couldn't play any backwards compatibility games, and this copy of Twisted Metal 2 I had was just a collector's item. And then my friends were all like, "Oh no, the PlayStation 3, all versions of PlayStation 3 can play PS1 games." And I was like, "Oh." And then I put it in, and it works. And then I had to stop because it looked awful. It looked awful.
Back in the day, back in my childhood, it was a pretty nice looking game back then.
Yeah, early PS1 games do not look good on the cheap. That needs smoother or whatever.
So anyway, in Breath of the Wild takes place in, I want to say, a far-flung future from the previous games. I think it was 10,000 years after some epic final battle with Ganon, or with Ganondorf, and for those who don't know from Skyward Sword, that Ganondorf is the reincarnation of Demise, the great demon Demise, or at least a reincarnation of his rage. Demise was the one who figured out how to reincarnate himself even after death so that he could live eternally. Basically, because of stuff, he winds up coming back as Ganondorf, and so that's how Ganondorf comes on.
Yep.
Anyway, that's the Zelda timeline in a very brief nutshell. So anyway, in Breath of the Wild, it takes place 10,000 years after some climatic battle where the Sheikah had developed all this technology. They were able to seal away Ganondorf under Hyrule Castle. So the world of Breath of the Wild has all these ruins and all these bits of ruin that are high-tech stuff as well. Throughout the game, there's a lot of references that there's an ancient civilization and suggesting underground. Back in the day, I took so many screenshots of stuff because there's so many suggestions in Breath of the Wild that there are things hidden underground, that there are things hidden underneath the Hyrule Plateau, which is again raised and walled. So there's big suggestion that at some point the whole Hyrule Plateau rose upwards and that there's actually something inside of it. We never get any discussion in that in Breath of the Wild. We never get to explore that outside of the Resurrection Shrine. So we never get to explore that outside of the Resurrection Shrine, which isn't very deep. But yeah, there's suggestions that, I mean, again, it looks like the whole of the Hyrule Plateau had been risen at some point. And also, when you activate the first tower, all these towers come up from underground. So there's this big suggestion throughout the game. It's implied but never directly stated that there is this massive underground network of tunnels of old Hyrule underground. And with this trailer now, this is pretty much confirmed. And so anyway, so we've got this scene in this trailer now that's happening underneath Hyrule Castle. They find another one of these old mummified Sheikah stages. Apparently been down there probably for 10,000 years. Might be the oldest of these stages you've seen yet, but then again, could be as old as the other ones. Who knows? This one seems to have been responsible for keeping Ganon sealed all these years. They've got their hand right on Ganon's chest, and they've got all these greenish, bluish, aquamarine symbols coming out of them and forming in the air around them. So it seems to be that they've been down there for millennia, for like 10 millennia now, just keeping Ganon sealed underneath Hyrule Castle, and we can see all this malice oozing out of Ganon, which is, I mean, not surprising because Ganon never stays sealed away. As a matter of fact, I had this very same image of dark energy flowing out of Ganon, where the Master Sword sealed him away, and at the end of Wind Waker, I had images of that years ago. So it is kind of funny in a way that some of my old childhood, well, not childhood, I was an adult at the time, but some of my younger adult days of, not even younger, back 10 years ago, my ideas for what Ganondorf breaking out would look like is now coming to fruition here. It's I just find that amusing to me. But yeah, so anyway, we've got Ganon sealed under Hyrule Castle here, and we've got this old Sheikah monk who's been keeping him sealed down there. What happened isn't clear because it's all out of order, the scenes, but what it looks like is that it looks like part of the cave collapses that Zelda and Link were traversing, and from the appearance, it looks as though that monk who was sealing away Ganon goes to help them, and I think that's what causes Ganon to suddenly be released, because there's nothing. That's just my interpretation. It could be completely wrong, but either way, they do fall. Someone does catch them, and Ganondorf, the now zombified Ganondorf, winds up being awakened, and if you notice at the beginning of the trailer, you can hear two heartbeats, and it's slow and sort of like in hibernation, and then at the end of the trailer, the heartbeat sort of intensifies and grows more like a living heartbeat, not a resting heartbeat, like an awake heartbeat. And so Ganondorf has awakened. Anyway, that explains what Ganon, the Malice Ganon, was from Breath of the Wild. Is all this evil was just the evil energy that was seeping out of him. So now we get the full resurrected Ganon, which, oh dear, that's going to be quite the amazing thing. Anyway, one of the things that always interested me about the Breath of the Wild is because I looked through it extensively, and basically Ganon in Breath of the Wild, the Malice, basically seemed to be trying to recreate the resurrection chamber that Link was in at the beginning of the game, because I took extensive photographs of that and looked all over, and looked all over, because you can go around Tower Castle and you can kind of explore the chambers that the Malice forms. And you can basically Ganon was basically trying to recreate a new body, and he was basically trying to recreate the resurrection chamber. Again, my opinion, my interpretation of everything you can see in Ganon's in Hyrule Castle. It looked as though he was trying to recreate the resurrection chamber and resurrect a new body. However, now as we see, they actually wound up resurrecting his original body, or at least his living body. So yeah, that's going to be pretty intense. And as we see at the end, Hyrule Castle is being raised much like the Great Plateau was. To contradict the Game Explain guys, I do think that this is in part going to take place in with the Breath of the Wild world. Some of it will be changed because, again, who knows how much the raising of Hyrule Castle, the subsequent cracks, is going to change the landscape. But I think a lot of Breath of the Wild landscape will be reused. However, I do think that a lot of the game is going to have underground. We're going to have the split two worlds, underground and above ground, much like the split worlds we've had in previous games with like the Dark World and Low Rule and Splits in Time. So yeah, I think this game is going to have a heavy exploration of the underground And also, we'll be able to see, what's happened in the years since we visited Hyrule and Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I do think the Breath of the Wild Hyrule will be returning. I do think there will be some changes to Central Hyrule because, again, Hyrule Castle is being raised like the Great Plateau. Who knows how many cracks and fault lines there were. There's probably caverns all over. These caverns probably extend throughout the world to let us explore Old Hyrule. So there will probably be cracks all across the map now. But yeah, I'm expecting heavily that that Breath of the Wild Hyrule will return, but with the landscape change because of these cracks, and you will be able to go underground and explore the undergrounds, which comprise Ancient Hyrule Society, and ruins from Ancient Hyrule. And again, like the game explained, fellas pointed out, one of the shots does briefly look like some of the old classic Legend of Zelda artwork for their ideas for the original labyrinths and their dungeons. So yeah, I have a feeling we'll be exploring dungeons again, but all the dungeons are in the underground Hyrule. I'm excited. I'm stoked for this game. There's a question about who are we going to be playing? Are we going to be playing both Zelda and Link? Are we going to be playing as just Link again, or are we going to be playing as just Zelda? And here's the thing: I think we're going to be playing as Zelda. I mean, she is shown falling in the trailer, but I do think we're going to be playing as her. I mean, I think that might be part of the reason why they cut her hair is because we're going to be playing as her a lot. They don't have to animate a lot of hair if she has short hair. So I think that was part of the reason why she's short hair Zelda now, is simply because they didn't want to animate hair. I'm running with that.
Now that I think about it, that's probably the reason why Bayonetta's hair got shorter in.
Well, another thing you have to understand is in Breath of the Wild, you can change clothing, and everything that Link has on his back, like the sword and stuff like that, will clip through. And so if she has her hair, there's going to be a lot of clipping. So if her hair is short, it'll reduce the amount of hair clipping through her clothing, which will happen a lot if she has long hair. So I think that's.
I am all for the first Zelda game in years with Zelda as the main character. And the first
but here's the thing I do want to say is in the game explain trailer they do point out the fact that it does appear that Link's hand is merging with that energy that with the sage thing. So I'm wondering and I'm hoping, now I could be completely wrong, but I think now is the time. Link might not even be playable.
Yes.
Because it is possible that Link just has a new power and he can warp and stuff and turn into energy and stuff like that. It might be possible that his whole hand dissolving might not be a new teleportation or a new power, but it just Link is now sealed away and like this form is now in energy form, and you play the entire game as Zelda, which would be awesome. I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed. I would love that. Yeah. And of course, you might be saying, "Oh well, what about the Master Sword?" Because if Link goes into energy, he'll be dropping the Master Sword right where he stands, probably, which would mean that Zelda would start the game with the Master Sword. And we already know that she can communicate. She can also use the Master Sword, and she can communicate with it in ways that Link can't. She can hear the voice of presumably Fi or Fi inside of it. That's heavily suggested in.
We got the Metroid problem here. They'll probably come up with some good reason for her not to have it.
This is just speculation on my part. I mean, they do show the cliff collapsing, and her before Ganon. So it's very possible that Ganon just immediately kidnaps her. I mean, as per classic Zelda, that he's just immediately kidnaps her. So she could get kidnapped in the first 10 minutes and just not appear again till the end. That is a distinct possibility. But I'm just hoping that this time that it's Link who's in peril, and this time she's the. And again, we already know from Breath of the Wild that she could communicate with the Master Sword in ways Link couldn't. She could hear Fi's voice inside the Master Sword, and Link cannot. So there was some interesting moments in Breath of the Wild where she's clearly talking to the Master Sword. We, the player, can't hear it, and neither can Link. But she can talk to the Master Sword. So her wielding the Master Sword and being able to communicate with it would be just amazing. So what were you saying?
I just I just want that. I definitely want there to be a Zelda game just play as Zelda, and not that one that happened because that one doesn't count.
When Zelda games are sequels, they tend to be they spin-offs, and that's also when they tend to get weird. A lot of the Zelda games that were weird and they did interesting things with were sequels. Link's Awakening, for example, was a sequel to Link to the Past. Majora's Mask was a sequel to Ocarina of Time. So again, these sequels they tend to do weird and explore Spirit Tracks, which we did have Zelda in playable in a sense for a bit of it, and Phantom Hourglass were both sequels of Wind Waker, and Phantom Hourglass was itself a sequel of a sequel. So people saying that it's outside the realm of possibility because didn't they just say for Breath of the Wild that the hero is always Link and the evil is always Ganon, and that is true. But again, this is a sequel, and Nintendo does like to do weird stuff with their Zelda sequels. So having Zelda be the hero isn't beyond the realm of possibility for a sequel Zelda game. And that's what I'm thinking. And since this is Breath of the Wild too, this is a sequel to Breath of the Wild. There is no reason why you can't have Zelda exploring this new Hyrule. This poor girl's been sealed away for 100 years, sealing away Ganon for 100 years. Come on, let the girl have her fun now. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. I mean, let's see what Zelda can do now. I'm ready. Aren't you?
Yes, I would love it.
And again, I think that's why she has short hair now, because you're going to be playing as her and having all the equipment. You don't want her hair clipping through the equipment, so they just said, okay, we're just going to cut her hair short because I could be wrong. I'm hoping. All the signs are pointing. Come on, Nintendo. Let this game be where you actually give us a Zelda game where you actually play as the titular character. Come on. I'm just hoping. But yeah, I mean, they could go really weird with it too. I mean, I've for a long time wanted Ganon as a playable character in his own kind of thing with a God of War kind of style type of thing, where maybe a more mature setting where Ganon.
Nintendo God of War would be awesome.
But with Ganondorf, like I've always had an idea for like prologue to Ocarina of Time, where Ganon's trying to gain his power and stuff like that, and he's just doing, and it's just God of War, but with Ganon, just being this evil badass who's just going through these places, going across the desert of Gerudo Desert and places and stuff. But so that's always an idea that I've kind of had for a long time. So I'm hoping maybe that Ganondorf is more than just the villain, and they want. I mean, it's unlikely. I mean, to be clear, Ganondorf's awakening here. Ganon is the symbol. Ganon is rage. I mean, he hates Zelda and Link. So the idea that there would be some greater threat that he might collaborate with Zelda on is unlikely. He's almost guaranteed to be the villain in this one. But then again, see, Zelda sequels don't usually have Ganondorf be the villain either. So part of me is also hoping, in addition to hoping that Zelda's the main playable character, I was kind of hoping that is kind of a forced collaboration with Ganondorf would be amazing as well, because
that was my favorite. To
be fair, they did just kick Calamity Ganon's butt like a year or two ago, and since this is probably happening a year or two after the events of Wind Waker, Ganon can chill. Okay, Ganondorf needs to chill his jets. They just kicked his ass 2 years ago. I mean, do we really need to have him? Does he really need to rampage immediately after resurrecting? I mean, come on. But he probably is. He probably will be the main villain. But if all of this is happening right at the start, you're playing as Zelda now. Also, Ganondorf is helping you for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe Ganondorf's helping you, and you have to save Link. But that would be incredible. That would blow everyone's minds. Let's be real.
So, in the most recent Bionicle book that my friends did in our podcast, the villain of the franchise, who had previously been locked in a wall by the good guys, was resurrected and forced to work with the leader of the good guys because a different bad guy was stealing the MacGuffin that he wanted. And he's all like, I need your help to get the MacGuffin. And the good guy's all like, no. And then he's all like, if I don't get it and you don't get it, then he has it. And that's bad for both of us. And then he's all like, yeah, I see your point. Okay, let's hang out. And so the good guy hangs out with the bad guy for a bit. And they just have casual conversations. Like, hey, did you know those monsters you've been fighting? I made those. It's neat. Hey, do you know your island is made out of more? You know. So, like, that could happen. Like, a game where a Ganon is an ally, you just, like, casually drop lore bits that you would never know about because it's his stuff.
The interesting thing about Ganondorf lore that's kind of I've read about how in Majora's Mask, Termina was originally supposed to have their own Ganon, and their Ganon was supposed to be running the fishing hole.
Oh.
And including that, there is a lot of in every game where Ganondorf, not Ganon, Ganondorf is a major player, is the villain. There is some sort of fishing reference, fishing and Ganondorf in fishing. For example, in Twilight Princess, first off, there is of course a big fishing hole in Twilight Princess, and Ganon gets distracted if you fling your fishing rod at him. His eyes follow the hook, and in Wind Waker, Ganondorf is really upset, like irrationally upset that there is no fish in the ocean. I mean, it's just a weird detail that he adds. He's just really upset that there is an ocean without fish, and it is such a weird detail. And now that we've got Majora's Mask revealing that the Termina version of Ganon was supposed to be a fisherman. And the fact that in Ocarina of Time, despite the fact that Zora's domain is frozen over and Lake Hylia is dry as a rock, for some reason the fishing hole that's right by Lake Hylia somehow still has water and fish. And why would that? Well, the reason is because Ganon loves fishing. That's it.
Okay, so in the game where you swing this fishing rod at him and he looks at it confusedly, like you said, he probably is all like, "Oh shit! I'm supposed to be selling fish."
Yeah, here's the thing. Right from the get-go, Ganondorf could have been quelled all the way back in Ocarina of Time if the Hyrule King had just invited Ganondorf to go fishing.
So basically, Legend of Zelda. So basically, Legend of Zelda this whole time has been Sleeping Beauty, but instead of a party, the royals.
Yeah. If Ganon wasn't busy being the great king of evil, he would have been the legendary fisherman. I would love that because this is again, like I said, every game that's had Ganondorf in it has either had Ganon. Some reference to fishing. Either Ganon neglected to do anything about a fishing hole, left the fishing hole so strangely with water, and the fishing holes remained in business for 7 years despite no one else being able to access it. As a matter of fact, I have a voice clip video that I've done a couple times now where the reason why the fishing hole is able to stay in business 7 years, despite the fact that no one's able to access it anymore because Lake Hylia is dried up and so no one can even reach it. The reason why that fishing hole stayed in business is because Ganondorf is their best customer, and that is not canon. That is my fan theory, but yeah, I think Ganondorf had been secretly supporting the fishing hole in Ocarina of Time. In Majora's Mask, the Termina version was originally planning to be the fisherman. Wind Waker, he's just angry that there's no fish in the ocean. Just pissed. There's no fishing. He's like, I get back. I free myself. I come to this world on the ocean, and there's no fish. The gods are playing a cruel trick on me. And then in Twilight Princess, he's just so distracted by the fishing. This is a man who, if he wasn't the great king of evil, he would be the great king of fishing. And now that Ganondorf is likely going to be back in this game, we need to let that man fish. We need to let that man fish. That man just wants to fish. That's all I want.
So a big Lego YouTuber named Just Good has been speculating that for various reasons, Nintendo is going to have Lego sets and everyone's been making fun of him for it, but he's usually credible about some stuff. And so, like, I'm just gonna throw it out there. If we got Lego Legend of Zelda, I'm probably going to be buying one of the Lego boat houses that's not Zelda related, but I'm just going to have Ganondorf hanging out with the Lego fisherman.
Oh, if you've seen my Twitter, my Worms Selena Twitter account, I have a Smash Ultimate screenshot where I have Ganondorf in the Terminus stage, and he's teaching Isabelle how to fish.
Awesome, it's perfect.
And since Ganondorf's going back, I hope they give him, in addition to having him like just mellow the out for this game, just mellowing out for this game, chilling out. I hope that Ganon is running a fishing hole. Ganon, since there's some new evil threat, because there's always a new evil threat in Zelda sequel land. So the fact that we have Ganon just being resurrected right away, but Ganon is never the main antagonist of the sequel. So I hope that this time, for whatever reason, there's just some other villain, and Ganon is just usurped as being the villain for this time. And so Ganon,
yeah, maybe he tries. He decides, fuck it. I've been doing this shit off and on together for 10,000 years. I'm going fishing.
Yeah, they've always just linked fighting Ganon, sealing Ganon away. Now maybe it's Zelda's turn to try some diplomacy, and finds out that he likes fishing, and they go fishing because the only way you're ever going to stop Ganon is by quelling that rage. I mean, I don't like the whole idea. I know it's pushing it as like saying, oh well, what if you could just talk to the villains, and I don't want to portray that as like something you could do in real life, but I mean for Zelda, I would just love it if like this time if Zelda's the main playable character, Ganon's running a fishing hole now, her and Ganon can just talk and fish and talk about, and he's like, hey, all those bad things I've done, my bad, sorry about that.
I would absolutely love it if the most important plot point in the Legend of Zelda game was a fishing mini game.
Just a fishing cutscene. Just a fishing cutscene with Zelda and Ganon. He's like, my bad. Because I mean, come on, we've already got this as the anime Zelda anyway. So why not kick it up a notch and just have the villain just like going, my bad. I'm sorry, and the good guys being okay. That's what they do in anime all the time, right? Villain goes all half cocked for like 4 seasons, and then suddenly he's back and he's just murdered everyone during his previous, but now suddenly the villain's back and he's like, oh, I'm sorry about like the tens of thousands of years of genocide. Sorry about that. My bad. I was having a bad couple of millennia. I mean, they do that in anime all the time, right?
That happened in Ninjago for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Naruto and Dragon Ball have all these villains that have done all these horrible things, and now the good guys are cool with them. Why not do that here with Zelda finally calms Ganon's demise's rage, and Ganondorf can just move on with his life and run a fishing hole.
Goku straight up gives a healing MacGuffin to sell as he's about to murder his son because he wants to be friends with the bad guy.
Yeah, this is anime Zelda now, so we could have just anime crap like that, and just have this villain who's just been doing all this evil for like 100,000 years or whatever now, for however long since demise, and she just quells his rage like with one fishing game, and just does what the King of Hyrule back in Ocarina of Time could not, and forge a peace between this villainous asshole. And so there's the new evil, and now you've got a fishing hole that's being run, and you've got Ganondorf and Lizalfos for some reason, and maybe a few Bokoblin, and they're all fishing and running this fishing hole together that Zelda can visit. Part of the side quest for this game is finding all these various fishing holes and relaying them to Ganon, so Ganon can set up fishing shops in each of these fishing holes, because you can find rare fish, and like there's fishing holes as well. And in the 8th dungeon, there's a hidden fishing hole inside the 8th dungeon, so you can return to the 8th dungeon and just go fishing in the 8th dungeon, because why not? That's the thing we can do now. Why not?
If Nintendo doesn't make Ganon a fisherman, but Lego makes Zelda, then I'm just gonna make him Ganon a fisherman. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. So another thing is, people are going to groan. One thing I kind of missed and wish that they'd been in Breath of the Wild was building elements. People are collectively groaning.
People complain about literally everything. Who cares?
This comment alone, when it gets on YouTube, is going to get this video massively downvoted. But I actually kind of wish that you could actually rebuild Hyrule, and so since I think that Hyrule will be coming in, I'm hoping that you'll get a chance to rebuild it this time. You'll be able to do construction projects. You'll be able to customize, build your own stuff, like wherever. I mean, both underground and above ground. You'll be able to build stuff. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. I would love to be able to just like do Hyrule Builders. Why not? Let's do this.
There are people who are criticizing the style of the new Battletoads game, disparaging it, calling it CalArt style, which is just code for
which game?
Battletoads.
Oh,
Xbox. Yeah, so the art style is perfect. Looks just like what would happen if you drew the sprites from the original game.
No, people did this with the new Commander Keen as well. They were criticizing the art style. It's like, the art style's fine, it's cute, but leave it alone.
The art style is fine. The fact that it's a mobile game is what upsets. People complain about the wrong things.
Yeah, I've seen the gameplay for Commander Keen. It looks awful, but the art style is adorable.
Yeah,
I love the art style.
Yeah, they had my attention when they said the word Saturday morning cartoon video game show, and I thought, okay, I'm listening. And then they said mobile game, and I'm like, okay, you've lost me. And then they said Commander Keen, and I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting. Wait, no, it's a mobile game. Fuck.
Did you see the gameplay for it? It looks awful. It looks bad.
I just assume it's a mobile game. Unless Nintendo makes it, it's bad. That's just the rule.
I'm going to contradict you and say the Nintendo mobile games are kind of rubbish as well.
I mean, they're not as bad.
I wouldn't play them. I'm not a big fan of them. Yeah, but
apparently people like Pokemon Go.
I mean that was more well I mean that was Niantic more than a thing, but yeah.
It's licensed Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo doesn't actually make any of these mobile games. They basically just
they
hire developers and then they put them on a leash to make sure the game is good, or at least good enough.
I wouldn't even go that far. I would say that most of Nintendo's mobile games are derivative of either other mobile games or of Nintendo games themselves, like in the case of Mario Runner and the new Mario Kart game. But
to my knowledge, they at least don't out something that is just awful and terrible and makes you pay for it every 20 seconds. It's just bad.
I think they're licensing their characters out, and more than actually having any sort of being in charge of the dev process. I think they're licensing it out, putting a few rules and restrictions, of course, because it's Nintendo. They control their IPs as fiercely as Disney.
I used to be equally interested in mobile gaming as a platform. Those days are long gone.
Yeah,
it's awful.
But anyway, yeah, I'm hoping for. I would love it if again you get to rebuild Hyrule and get to do building stuff. I mean, again, people are inwardly groaning. They're tired of building games. They're tired of building mechanics. The last thing they want in their Zelda game is building mechanics. I want the building mechanics. So
I want all of this. A Legend of Zelda game where you actually play as Zelda. Link's not even in it, is barely.
Link's the other way. You have to see that. The main part of the game is you have to save Link.
Ganon just retires and becomes a fisherman, and you rebuild Hyrule.
Hold on, go say it.
Save Link. Yes, I love that. Do it.
Because now Link's energy. Link's been converted into energy, and now you have to free him. Ganon is just running fishing holes across the world with an assorted crew of Coblins and Moblins and Lizalfos.
Now that we've spent like an hour hyping this up, I feel like the most obvious route they're going to go is it's just going to be a prequel that shows that final battle that turned Ganon into a cloud.
I mean, there's going to be cutscenes. I mean, there seems to be a hint of a cutscene that shows Ganon being sealed in the trailer. There seems to be just like the hint that there's a cutscene there that shows the actual sealing process. So we are probably going to get a cutscene detailing that. Again, I'm just speculating because, again, they always do weird stuff in the Zelda sequels. They're never. I mean, again, Link to the Past was a sequel. Majora's Mask was a sequel. The Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Track were both sequels. I mean, again, they always do the weird stuff in sequels, and they never have Ganon be the villain of the sequel. So again, I think they can branch out. They can have Zelda be the hero this time because it's a sequel. They can have Ganon be there but not be the villain because it's a sequel. They can get away with it because it's a sequel, and there could be more of a story dynamic this time. And I mean, just learning. I mean, again, Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda game, and the reason for that, again, part of it is because Ganondorf in that game is more emotional. You get, I mean, even though he's only appears in it very briefly, you get more of a sense of what Ganondorf is. I mean, first off, he doesn't kill Link at the beginning when he has a chance. He just says him, "Oh, just toss him." I mean, there's a reason for that as well. He's also using Link to unseal him. But Ganondorf and Wind Waker, there's a glimmer of humanity. You don't see that in Twilight Princess, where he's just like, "Oh, I'm bad. I'm angry. I hate the god. I've destroyed the statues of the goddesses. I'm angry." But in Wind Waker, there's almost a bit of I want to say of nostalgia. There's just this sense in Ganondorf, like there's layers beneath there, besides just this villain who's just evil. There's just a hint. I mean, where he talks about the living in the desert and how he covered Hyrule's wind because all these bourgeois Hylians live in the great place where they have all this food and all these resources, and then he is living out here, and there's people with the desert. There's hardly any food. People die in the daytime because it's too hot. People die in the nighttime because it's too cold. And you actually get a glimpse of that in Breath of the Wild, where during the daytime you need to have your heat resistance up, otherwise you'll die of heat, and at nighttime you need to have your cold resistance up, otherwise you'll die of frost. And so you actually do see a bit of that of what Ganon described in Wind Waker. In Gerudo Desert, where no matter day or night, the winds of Gerudo Desert bring death, and so it would just be so incredible if Ganon actually gets a chance to mellow out, and he's now living in Hyrule. He's now just fishing, and that would just be incredible, you know.
I like it.
And I mean, again,
oh, he likes fishing so much because he lives in a desert.
It's one of the bounties of Hyrule that he never experienced. There's not a lot of water in the desert, and so Hyrule has bountiful fishing holes, and he can just go and fish because it's like, yeah, that was something he never really got to do in the desert. He's like, oh, I would love to be a fisherman. Yes, people might be saying at this point. I mean, this is. I mean, some of this is going to be. I mean, some of the earlier points before I really dipped off into wishful thinking. Some of my earlier theories I think are going to hold true. Like, well, I mean, come on. I mean, I'm basically. My early part analysis was basically just talking about what you're seeing in the trailer and how it relates to about Breath of the Wild. So. The whole underground thing, I have a feeling that's going to be...
You're going to get so much attention if it turns out at half of what you predicted is right.
In the pure speculation part, yeah. I mean, the pure speculation part probably isn't going to happen. But since we are just into pure speculation, I mean, I would... now I forgot what I was going to say. So since we're speculating, what you might be wondering, who would be the villain? And I mean, it's like, there has been this Sheikah who has been down there sealing Ganondorf for 10,000 years. Gotta figure that guy's probably pissed as hell. I mean, at some point after just being alone, sitting down here for 10,000 years, being while life continues up. Gotta figure. I mean, they even hinted at that where there's this where the Yiga clan is an offshoot of the Sheikah that decided to worship Ganon instead because they're tired of fighting Ganon. So why not this really old Sheikah monk decides that he's going to be evil now, and he steals Link away, and so now you're teaming up with Ganon, who's running a fishing hole, but is also really angry at just this guy who's been holding him underground for 10,000 years. I don't know. I mean, it's just theory. I mean, it's probably not what's going to happen. But I mean, it's probably going to be. Again, it's probably going to be Ganon's going to be raising an army again. But it would be nice, you know. It would just be nice if we could have just.
That's just a theory. A game theory.
Oh no!
Is the Legend of Zelda haunted?
Eric Garland voice, folks. It's time for some game theory. Yeah. Now to go on a 92-tweet rant about why Trump is the villain in Breath of the Wild 2.
Trump is the villain in everything.
Yeah.
Just is the villain. Trump's not the villain in everything. Trump just is the villain. He's a bad man.
92 tweeted about why Zelda and Ganondorf team up to stop Trump. Yes. Spoiler alert, he built an ugly Trump tower inside Hyrule, and they're not happy about it. No one's happy about the new Trump Tower Hyrule. No one's happy about it. Yep. Except for Trump. And he's built just a giant golf course around it. And Ganondorf's just like, I've done a lot of bad stuff in my day, but I've never built a golf course, and so yeah. And now you have to stop Trump, who wants to bulldoze all of Hyrule and replace it with just resorts and golf courses. And you have to stop him. He must be stopped at all, because if he does this, there will be no good fishing locations for Ganondorf to now chill Ganondorf to fish, and he must be stopped.
Donald Trump has to be stopped to protect the fish.
Must be stopped so that Ganondorf can keep fishing.
Donald Trump must be stopped to protect the fish.
To protect Ganondorf's fishing interests. Yes.
Yes.
You've heard of Bubblegum Shrimp? Well, this is what's an enemy's name that started with Bellum Ganon Shrimp. I don't know. If you're dragging Bellum into this, why not? So that's theories about my theories, speculation, and idle fangirling about Breath of the Wild 2. Now let's.
Yeah, I am. I have not played Breath of the Wild, but I am excited for all the people who are like, when are they going to make a new Zelda game? Are they going to make a new game like Breath of the Wild? Let's make a game.
But yeah, how about Banjo-Kazooie in Smash Brothers, huh?
I knew that was going to happen eventually. Microsoft and Nintendo get along better than any game company has gotten along before. So with Banjo-Kazooie now in Smash Ultimate, my little Rose from way back when I was let's see, it was 99, so I would have been 13. So back 13-year-old Rose, back when she played the original Super Smash Brothers Smash 64 for the Nintendo 64, all young Rose's wishes have come true now. You've got your Wario, you've got your Meta Knight, you've got your Ridley, and now you've got your Ganondorf, and now you've got your Banjo-Kazooie. So all of young Rose's dream inclusions are now in this game. With Banjo-Kazooie, that makes it official. All of young Rose's dreams have come true. It was obvious that Banjo and Kazooie were going to be in Smash Brothers, with Nintendo and Microsoft getting along better than any console maker has gotten along before. Xbox Game Pass is on the Switch.
Has that been confirmed?
Of course, Banjo.
Was that confirmed? I was looking around. I don't think that's been officially confirmed yet.
Well, this is happening. Banjo, Kazooie, and Smash.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think Game Pass has been officially confirmed for the Switch yet. I mean, it wasn't announced either the Xbox or the Switch thing. So I hope
it does, because I don't want to get an Xbox, but I do want to play Forza Horizon 4 now.
But but also the SNES reveal. I was expecting and that they were going to announce that the SNES online is coming to it, but nope. There's still just going to be NES games. There's going to be trickle feeding out all these NES games, and it's like.
I was hoping for GameCube.
Yeah, the Game Explain guys talked about that before, and if they do GameCube games, which they might, they would probably remaster them and re-release them as full-price games.
Then do that. Sunshine would look amazing.
And also because they're very large file size as compared to the previous consoles, they probably wouldn't release them on on a Switch Online thing. So if they were going to, they probably would just remake them. But I mean,
I imagine Sunshine would look beautiful. So go ahead, do that.
I mean, my prediction back last year, which came out of the videos, I predicted that they were going to celebrate the Smash Online, because I didn't think that they would just release Smash Online with the crap they released it with, right? Ha ha ha. So I was predicting that they were going to if you own Smash Brothers Ultimate and Nintendo Switch Online Pass, that you'd be able to play on Nintendo Switch Online Melee. I was expecting that. It didn't happen. I thought that would be a sweet bonus for people who have the Nintendo Switch Online, and that probably would have fostered some good will towards the Nintendo. I mean, that just having Melee alone, because we know how many the diehard Melee fans are. All kinds of people that still swear that Melee is the best. Actually, believe it or not, I'm one of those people. Not have anything to do with the multiplayer at all. I do not play Smash for multiplayer. Surprise. I mostly play one-player games and mostly play games that do have multiplayer. I mostly play them as single player. I just liked Smash Melee, and I loved its classic mode. I missed all those the point system and all those weird, ridiculous points that you could get for doing stuff like Yoshi Rainbow from Smash 64, and just the weird stuff you could do in Smash Melee, just getting all those weird points. And so I love that, and I would love to see Melee have a thing again. And of course, like you said, I mean, they do have a lot. So, but again, they probably will, if they release stuff like Sunshine and stuff like that, they probably would just do remastered versions rather than putting them on the online. Now, it does seem like, again, someone has gone into the code, and it does look like there's code for like potentially 3 other services in addition to NES Online. We know one of them is Super NES Online, but it does seem like they were toying with possibly a Nintendo 64 and Game Boy, and I would love that. I mean, they really need to pad out their Nintendo Switch Online service, because they are adding the new Pokemon Home thing to it, but also they've just released that you're not going to be able to bring Pokemon from games that aren't in the Galar decks. You're not going to be able to bring those into a game, which is like, what's the point of it then?
Is there not a national dex?
I mean, they've done this before where there wasn't, and yeah, I'm guessing not, which is that's gonna. I mean, why are you even having the Pokemon Home feature if you're not going to allow them to bring us to bring our?
So the idea is that modeling all 800 Pokemon would be something.
But But here's the thing: they're probably all going to be modeled in the game anyway, because in all the previous ones they were. But they're just not going to have them be accessible. At least not from the older game. At least not from the older games. They're probably going to have new ways to get them, but they're not going to let you. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I don't know why this was announced today. I don't know why they.
Maybe they don't want to get people to have an advantage. Like, oh, we're gonna make this Pokemon. We're gonna buff this Pokemon in this new generation, so we're not gonna let people trade it from the previous.
It's Nintendo being Nintendo. Nintendo are dicks. We agree with that, right? Nintendo are dicks.
Yeah, I hate it.
I mean, of course, they were actually going to release a good service for you actually thought that they were going to release a good service for the Nintendo Switch Online? Ha! Guess what? You can't transfer all your Pokemon, only certain Pokemon. So you can transfer them into Nintendo Online, but they're just going to sit there until there's another game that can use them, because you're not going to be able to transfer them all into Pokemon Sword and Shield. You thought we were finally going to do something good with the Nintendo Switch Online. Ha! Screw you, fans. Nintendo Online, every single aspect of Nintendo Online is going to be shit. Sorry.
I love how there were people in Nintendo Online were like, oh yeah, you got to pay for it. That's a good thing for some reason. So the logic was, they thought, oh, if you have to pay for it, that means it's going to be good, right? No, you're paying for the same bullshit.
Yeah.
You're paying for the same bullshit online connectivity that's been in the systems. Only now you're paying for it, so it's now objectively worse.
You thought the NES Online was going to be good? You thought that there was going to be all these games? There's going to be a library of old NES games that you're going to have access to? Ha! Nope. Psych. Oh, you thought you were going to get a replacement for Pokemon Bank? You thought you were going to get a good replacement for Pokemon Bank that's a cloud source, it's going to be future-proofed, and that's just going to be great, and you're going to be able to transfer all your old Pokemon into the new Pokemon games? Ha! Psych, you can only transfer some of them. You can only transfer some of them from Pokemon Home to Pokemon Sword and Shield. A lot of them are just going to be sitting there in Pokemon Home until they decide to make a new game that uses them. Ha! Psych, every part of... You thought we were going to do something good with Nintendo Switch Online? Oh no, buddy. We're gonna screw you over again.
It's absolutely terrible. It's like you don't get to charge for something you feasibly offered for free, especially when it was bad before, and you're like, oh no, we're gonna make it better now that we have a budget.
Psych, we lied.
Psych, we lied. We're charging you money and we're not putting it into server fees. We're not actually using it to make the service you're paying for better. We're using it to maybe the money for the games, I guess. But
now, as we close up our E3 coverage, I think it's time for one final segment, and it's about.
Is it still there?
No, it's about Konami.
Oh yeah, Konami.
But wait, we're not talking. But we're not going to be talking about Konami video games.
Oh no.
Nope.
Oh no.
We're talking about card games
Card
because
games.
for avid fans of the stuff that I've been doing, I've gotten back into Yu-Gi-Oh recently. Guess what, Konami? Do you remember? Do you remember Rock Stun?
Yeah, that rock dinosaur.
No, but do you remember the old Rock Stun? It used to be a strategy in Yu-Gi-Oh where Rock Stun decks, where they basically stun and stall out using rock monsters. Well, guess what? New rock support. I mean, I showed you the Rock Ape, but there's also Rock's Exceed monster that's going to let you summon rock monsters from your deck to your. No, I think you can actually special summon them from search out. Yeah, I think it's special summons from the. No, maybe it is from the hand. No, it doesn't search them out. Sorry, it special summons them from the hand. So Rock Stun is getting support in the form of Rock Ape and this new Rock Summoner, Exceed. So yeah, Rock Stun is coming back to be still completely unviable strategy, but hey, I mean,
Wonderful.
it's a thing you can do. But Rock Stun support, yay!
Wonderful. You can now whack your opponents over the head with a bag of rocks.
Rock Ape, Rock Ape, Rock Ape,
Rock
Rock
Ape,
Ape, Rock 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 Ape,